The Catholics of Oz is brought to you by the Star Quest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
You're listening to episode 92 of The Catholics of Oz. The Catholics of Oz is a show where we discuss faith, culture, and what's been happening from an Aussie perspective. Whether it's synods or science, apostolates and apps, providence or productivity, you can hear it right now on The Catholics of Oz. Hello, I'm Lindsay Sant and welcome to episode 92. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got a few things to talk about today, so I'm going to rush into introducing our hosts. I have my warm but still alive sister, Caroline Knight. How you going, Caroline?
I'm very well, thanks. It's very warm.
Yes.
Melbourne summer. Well and truly in summer mode.
Yes, and equally hot and melting, but still here and still going. Lino Saubolle, how are you?
Yeah, doing okay, guys. Yeah, a bit of a warm, a warm night last night. So trying to get to sleep. Yeah, getting there.
Yeah, I found myself waking up a few times last night. It was a bit warm, just waking up and dozing around and everything. Yeah. But we're here. We're alive for this podcast. We've had coffee. I think we're all caffeinated, so we'll get along, get the job done.
Nice Earl Grey for me.
Nice Earl Grey.
Oh, awesome.
Hot.
Hot.
Replicated or for all the
No, I actually made it myself.
Nice.
Just speaking of Earl Grey tea, just as an aside, really quickly. So Friday has become Captain Picard Day for me, basically. You know, in Star Trek, there was an actual, in Next Generation, there was an actual Captain Picard Day that the children would celebrate. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's very, very funny. But so Friday, because Picard comes out, Friday's become Captain Picard Day for me. So in my last class of, on Fridays, and it's the same class now, I always say, is anyone here a Star Trek fan who's excited as me today? And there's like no one, like no kids at all.
No.
So none of them are Star Trek. I know. Yeah. Like sometimes people worry about the church. I'm more worried about Star Trek, to be honest. What's going on? The church is fine.
We know.
Yeah, the church is fine. But what about Star Trek? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, Lindsay, can I now confirm you're an Earl Grey tea drinker?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. Hot.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
You finally joined the club.
Yeah.
Me and Picard have been drinking it for ages.
Yeah, my top three hot beverages would be black coffee, Earl Grey tea, and green tea. So I'm kind of ecumenical, I like to involve everyone. Yeah, a bit of best of both worlds. Which was also a great Star Trek two-parter as well. Anyway, I'll move that aside. Sorry. I watched Picard last night. I might have rewatched it again because it was really good, but that's it. Yeah. We'll talk about that later. Yeah. So I actually wanted to start the show with a bit of listener feedback. So I've got two bits of feedback. So the first one is from Discord. And Caroline, this is from the Let's Science channel. And J-Dub said, I'm excited you all talked about the radioactive capsule that fell off the truck. Actually, no, sorry. This is from the Catholics of Oz channel. I'm excited that you all talked about the radioactive capsule that, quote, fell off the truck. That was in the US media as well, and I was really curious to hear about how they found it. Apparently something similar happened in the US and they never found the capsule, though depending on where it was, that may explain a lot. And put it like a silly face. That's really good. And then moving on to the other topic we talked about, and thanks for going over the Synod findings from Australia. I followed it closely here in the US, where it's been reported in a negative light, but listening to you all makes me want to look up similar report from the States. So thank you for that, J-Dub. Yeah. And so I would recommend everyone look at what your local diocese has said in regards to the Synod, because it's collected your responses or the responses of Catholics in your area. And if you get a chance to contribute, you should contribute, please, where you can. So go to a listening session, submit something online, whatever you're comfortable in doing.
Definitely.
Yeah. My own personal opinion is that, if it's being reported in a negative light, and look, I think everything should be critiqued for sure. Regardless of whether it's from Pope Francis or from our local bishop or from your local priest or whatever it might be, or from your favorite apologist or whatever, everything that someone says should be critiqued, because, we're all thinking people. If the coverage is deliberately negative, I'm concerned. I would be concerned by that. So what I'd suggest is maybe, and I'm not saying J-Dub is doing this, but just based on their feedback, I'd say, don't go looking for a news source which is deliberately positive or deliberately negative, maybe just go to, like, for example, just look at things that Pope Francis releases and see what he's actually saying, because I've seen this a lot. And I've seen this commentary, which I think is really helpful, where people will say, when I see what's reported about Pope Francis, I get really, really, really worried, as in like what's reported about what he said. When I read what he actually says, then those worries go away.
They're usually two different things, isn't it?
Yeah. So just be careful of any news outlets, and look, Catholic news outlets as well. And again, I don't like to criticize and whatever. So people go to where you read news, but just be careful of if a news outlet is cherry picking quotes and not giving them full context, they may not be a reliable news source, is what I'd say.
Yeah.
But again, all of you who are listening, you're all, grown adults, and I'm not telling you how to make decisions. You know how to make decisions. But my advice, personally, Lindsay Sant's advice is, when you hear what's reported about what Pope Francis said, look at what he actually said in context, and it may make more sense. And I'm happy for people to write in and share about that. And that leads us into a second bit of feedback. So this was on YouTube from our last episode as well. This is from Delawana. We need a church that teaches once again and is interested in the salvation of souls. The church has been listening to the spirit of the age for 60 years now, and it has brought her to its knees. So the way I'm interpreting this, the 60 years for me is a bit of a clue that this person may not be excited about the Second Vatican Council, because some people have said that since the Vatican Council, the church has declined and whatever. I would again just say this: look at what the documents of the Second Vatican Council actually say, and you may be surprised how faithful to tradition and scripture that they really are, and what they're trying to do. There was a time where the church had become very suspicious of the world, too suspicious, and had a bit of a fortress mentality. There are reasons for why that may be as well, because, there are also very strong influences in the time that has to protect itself from. But we have to always return to what the church should be, and that is the face of Christ in the world. And a church that's the face of Christ in the world listens and acts simultaneously, and we need to be careful. We need to be careful to make sure we're doing that. But Delwana and J-Dub, I thank you both very much for your feedback, and I encourage you to give us more. And if anyone else has feedback on anything we talk about in our episodes, we love it. We are grateful for it. So, and I know that sometimes people give feedback or are too afraid to give feedback because they're worried that they're going to get ridiculed by whoever reads it. That will never happen on this podcast. You will never be ridiculed for having an opinion and sharing it with us. In fact, you'll be treasured, and we're very grateful for it. So let's move on, and just want to say, first of all, if you're new to listening to the Catholics of Oz, after all that, welcome. You can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, or your favorite podcast player. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and some positive feedback so that we can hear from you and reach new people as well, which is what we are all about. SQPN also hosts the Catholics of Oz on YouTube. You can subscribe there, and don't forget to hit the bell to get notifications when new episodes of this show and all the other great shows on SQPN are released. And so with that, let's move on to our first topic, which is faith beyond borders.
Well, I'm actually feeling rather good about this. I think we've all arrived at a very special place, eh? Oh. Spiritually, ecumenically.
How do you make somebody love you without affecting free will?
Welcome to my world, son. You come up with an answer to that one, you let me know.
Yes, I had to work very hard to pass Latin and theology.
Oh, quite. Those are, of course, the most important things.
Oh, yeah.
I'd sit this one out, Cap.
I don't see how I can.
These guys come from legend. They're basically gods.
There's only one god, man. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
So speaking of Pope Francis, that's where I'm actually going to be going today.
Hey, what a segue.
Yeah,
good segue.
Yeah, what a great segue. Yeah. So we're in the season of Lent, and I hope Lent started really well for both of you as well. Did you guys manage to receive ashes for Ash Wednesday?
So unfortunately this week the nights have been a bit unwell.
You've been under the weather, haven't you?
Started,
Yeah.
And we've had the whatever bug we've had. So I did watch Mass online. I mean, it's better than nothing.
Of course.
But yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, no, it's good we have access
I
to that when we're
received them
sick.
spiritually. Yeah, that's a good thing that came out of the COVID pandemic is that now you can access mass online now. So when you need to, so it's good.
Yeah, Lino, did you go to Holy Family to receive your ashes?
Yes, I did. Received the ashes and the cross in our forehead. I just can't remember who put the ashes on my head. I think a bit too much on my forehead. I'm serious. A bit too much, and then he was
enthusiastic.
A bit enthusiastic, and then I had
they looked at you and they thought, this guy's in need of repentance. Let's
you really need to remember your dust.
Well, I think it was. I can't remember his name. He didn't say, "Man, you are dust, and
to dust you shall return."
What was the other one, Lindsay, about something?
Turn away from your sin and be faithful to the gospel is another one.
Yeah,
be faithful to the gospel. Yeah,
that was it.
Or repent from your sin. Yeah,
that's correct. I think it was repent of sin and so did the gospel. Just a bit too much on my forehead for some reason, and had ashes in my eyelashes. I'm serious. I'm not joking here. And on my hand and
ashes in my lashes. I like that.
In my lashes.
There's a wrap
this
there.
is a good blessing. So it was good. It was good. Very solemn mass, and oh goodness me, I'm getting old. I can't remember what the sermon was. What would be the God.
It's Matthew's Gospel. Matthew's Gospel. And it's about when you fast and when you pray and when you give, don't boast about it. Don't make a big deal about it.
That's
correct.
It's
your Father who sees.
Don't look horrible.
Yeah.
Make yourself look good.
Yeah. Your Father sees all these things in secret, and your reward is in heaven. Don't go
Still
seeking.
Put on your makeup. Do your hair.
Yeah, put some oil in your hair, I think was the advice. Yeah, I've never tried that. I don't think I ever will, but we have products now, people, for our hair, so we're good.
We have different products.
Yeah, we have different
more
products.
synthetic products.
It is actually.
Yeah. So for Ash Wednesday, I went to because we do Ash Wednesday service at my school, which is beautiful. So, and what I like about the Ash Wednesday services, like Ash Wednesday itself is not a day of obligation. And the ashes, the ash ritual is not a sacrament, so anyone can receive ashes. And so this is one where we invite all students to participate. So in this case, we had 1,700 students and teachers in our school halls. So I'm
goodness.
Yeah, I'm boasting that we probably had, the cathedrals probably beat us, but I'm boasting that we probably had one of the largest Ash Wednesday services in Australia at my school.
Right.
So yeah, and with our student numbers, it's only going to get bigger. And if you want to make it bigger, our whole school is like 3,500 students across 3 campuses. So if you combine all that, I think we win. But it's not a competition. It's not a competition, right? This is a season of repentance and humility, so it's not a competition. But what was great was we had a service where everyone sat on the floor around a large cross, and all the ashes were there on display for so powerful symbols there for students to see, with the gospel and candles and Project Compassion links and all that. And it was all student-led. So the students led the service. They did all the reading, they did all the prayers beautifully, and all the singing. We had our beautiful Cantabile choir, which is like 60 plus students, from year 10 to 12 they sung the Litany of the Saints for us and some other music that was appropriate to the time. And then we had something like 60 plus students and teachers delivering, doing the ash service as well. So giving out ashes. Because we had a lot of students to get through, so we needed a lot of volunteers to help out. But it was beautiful because the students who gave out the ashes, some were Catholic and some weren't, but they understood what they were doing. We kind of explained it to them what this is all about. So for me, that's evangelization, that they get to participate in the ritual, and a lot of the students, there were students who were Catholic who received, but there were students who were not Catholic who also got up and received ashes as well. But we gave it all context. We explained why they're receiving the ashes during the service and what it means. And so again, it's a moment of evangelization, along the way. And now Lent, we continue the themes of Lent in our school up until the school holidays. And the last day of the school of this term is Holy Thursday. So we take the kids right up to Easter, and we'll have a Stations of the Cross service at the end of term as well on the last day. So
nice.
and we've got a mass in between these two services. So there's some continuation of those themes of Lent there for the students to remember. And we emphasize pray, fast, give, as much as possible. So there are things there for them to attach to. And we did go a little bit off script. So a lot of our students wouldn't understand, remember, man or woman, that thou art dust, and unto dust thou shalt return. And even for some of our students, they would have no idea about turn away from sin and repent, and follow the gospel. And people can have all kinds of opinions about that, but I'm just telling you the context that I work in. All right, it's basically missionary. All right, it's evangelization in that way. So we relied on the words of Oscar Romero for our ashes, and our students heard the words, which again we're going to refer to for the rest of this term: aspire not to have more, but to be more. And that for me is a beautiful summary of pray, fast, and give. So as they received ashes, and they would hear those words, and it was powerful because we had a few students who were sick, so I had to step in and do some ashing as well. I don't think ashing is the right word, but distribute ashes as well. Ashing. Yeah, but it was interesting looking at their faces as they heard those words, as they heard the aspire not to have more, but to be more. Some of them, their eyes lit up, some of them, their faces changed. It was a very powerful moment, I think, that one-on-one and them hearing those words. So we're going to continue the Ash Wednesday, the Lenten theme throughout our school for the rest of the term. And if there's anyone else there who's a teacher out there who's tried something, I'd love to know what you've done, because always looking for ideas about how to make this work in our school community. So the reason why I'm talking about this is because today I just wanted to briefly go through Pope Francis's Lenten, his message for this year's season of Lent. And I'm just going to go through some of the quick points and then ask you guys for some responses. So here we go. So he says, "Dear brothers and sisters, the Gospel of Matthew, Mark, and Luke all recount the episode of the transfiguration of Jesus. There we see the Lord's response to the failure of his disciples to understand him. Shortly before, there had been a real clash between the Master and Simon Peter, who, after professing his faith in Jesus Christ, the Son of God, rejected his prediction of the passion of the cross. Jesus had firmly rebuked him. 'Get behind me, Satan. You are a scandal to me because you do not think according to God, but according to men.' Following this, it says 6 days later, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, his brother, and led them away to a high mountain. The Gospel of the Transfiguration is proclaimed every year on the second Sunday of Lent. During this liturgical season, the Lord takes us with him to a place apart. While our ordinary commitments compel us to remain in our usual places and our often repetitive and sometimes boring routines, during Lent we are invited to ascend the high mountain in the company of Jesus to live a particular experience of spiritual discipline, ascesis or asceticism, as God's holy people. And this is this is about self-denial, moving away from all of those things. And so what he's saying is that Jesus is inviting us to we do have to continue these things, but to walk away from them a little bit and follow him up the mountain to the transfiguration with him. So he goes on to say that to deepen our knowledge of the Master, to fully understand and embrace the mystery of his salvation, accomplished in total self-giving inspired by love, we must allow ourselves to be taken aside by him and to detach ourselves from mediocrity and vanity. And that's, again, the gospel, that's read on Ash Wednesday. We need to set out on the journey an uphill path that, like a mountain trek, requires effort, sacrifice, and concentration. These requisites are also important for the synodal journey to which the Church we are committed to making. We can benefit greatly from reflecting on the relationship between Lenten penance and the synodal experience. So what he does now is he ties in what is the Church's synod all about. So this is the synod on synodality that we've talked about several times. And how is Lent? How is it related? How are they similar? So he goes on to say that, like the ascent of Jesus and the disciples to Mount Tabor, we can say that our Lenten journal is synodal, since we make it together along the same path as disciples of the one Master. For we know that Jesus is himself the way, and therefore, both in the liturgical journey and in the journey of the synod, the Church does nothing other than enter more deeply and fully into the mystery of Christ the Saviour. So in Lent, we enter as a community. So there is individual, but we also have to remember that this is a communal journey where we try and work on entering into a deeper relationship with Christ as we go along. And that's what the synod is all about as well, is how can the Church, and Church being the people, how can we go further and further and more deeper into our relationship with Christ? And how can we be transformed by it as well? Because we all need transformation all throughout our life. So as we come to its culmination, he says, the gospel relates that Jesus was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became white as light. This is the summit, the goal of the journey. At the end of their ascent, as they stand on the mountain heights with Jesus, the 3 disciples are given the grace of seeing him in his glory, resplendent in supernatural light. That light did not come from without, but radiated from the Lord himself. The divine beauty of this vision was incomparably greater than all the efforts the disciples had made in the ascent of Tabor. During any strenuous mountain trek, we must keep our eyes firmly fixed on the path. Yet the panorama that opens up at the end amazes us and rewards us by its grandeur. So too, the synodal process may often seem arduous, and at times we may become discouraged. Yet what awaits us at the end is undoubtedly something wondrous and amazing, which will help us to understand better God's will and our mission in the service of the kingdom. So I'll pause here for a moment because I like this image that the Synod, Lent, and I'm going to throw in Take the Way of the Gospel as well, happening here in Melbourne. All of these are a difficult, arduous, and very messy journey. And when I say messy, personally, we're confronted by our own mess during Lent. It's a season of repentance. Part of it is about repentance. And so we're confronted by our own personal mess, and we offer it to God, to Jesus who we walk up the mountain with. But then there's the communal aspect of being synodal. That the word synodality, synodal, is not a new word. It is a word that's been in the church for a long time. And it's about all of us taking that same way together. While we're individually trekking up the mountain with Jesus symbolically, we're also doing it as a group. Just like there wasn't just one person following Jesus, there were 3 or 4. Anyway, sorry about that. Maths. Yeah, but there were 3 following Jesus up the mountain as well. So we do it together in community. And when we get to the top, when we get to the end of the journey, there is the beauty of Jesus there. So at the end of Lent is the celebration of the resurrection. And Easter is not a day, but it's a season. So there's that season of celebration. And so that's why we try and do Lent as well as we possibly can, by being very honest with ourselves about our own mess and how we need God to be in our mess to help transform us. And it's the same to be in the mess of our church. And the church has always been in a mess because that's because it's full of human beings, and that's okay. But we want Christ to be part of that mess as well, so that we can be transformed individually and as a church and as a world as well. So to move on, the Lenten journey of penance and the journey of the Synod alike have as their goal a transfiguration, both personal and ecclesial, which is what I was saying before. A transformation that, in both cases, has its model in the transfiguration of Jesus and is achieved by the grace of his paschal mystery, so that this transfiguration may become a reality in us this year. I would like to propose 2 paths to follow in order to ascend the mountain together with Jesus and with him to attain the goal. So here are the paths. The first path has to do with the commandment that God the Father addresses to the disciples on Mount Tabor as they contemplate Jesus transfigured. The voice from the cloud says, "Listen to him." The first proposal then is very clear. We need to listen to Jesus. Lent is a time of grace to the extent that we listen to him as he speaks to us. And how does he speak to us? First, in the Word of God, which I think we've gone on about quite often in this podcast as well, which the church offers us in the liturgy. May that word not fall on deaf ears. If we cannot always attend Mass, let us study its daily Bible readings, even with the help of the internet. In addition to the scriptures, the Lord speaks to us through our brothers and sisters, especially in the faces of the stories of those who are in need. Let me say something else, which is quite important for the synodal process. Listening to Christ often takes place in listening to our brothers and sisters in the church. Such mutual listening in some phases is the primary goal, but it remains always indispensable in the method and style of a synodal church. So I think that's also a really important point because, and I think J-Dub in that feedback I was reading before, I think when he was talking about how some of that feedback that the reporting on the Synod is mostly negative, I feel like that's maybe some of that deafness that Pope Francis is talking about. That not J-Dub, but the reporting is what I'm getting at. But the deafness is the idea that we hear what we want to hear, but we don't hear the intention behind what's actually being said, which is what I was saying before. don't just listen to what's reported about Pope Francis. Look at what he actually says, because you'll actually find, that he loves Christ just as much as all of us. So to finish up then, on hearing the Father's voice, the disciples fell prostrate and were very much afraid. But Jesus came and touched them, saying, "Rise and do not be afraid." And when the disciples raised their eyes, they saw no one else but Jesus alone. Here is the second proposal for this Lent. Do not take refuge in a religiosity made up of extraordinary events and dramatic experiences, out of fear of facing reality and its daily struggles, its hardships and contradictions. The light that Jesus shows the disciples is an anticipation of Easter glory, and that must be the goal of our own journey as we follow him alone. Lent leads to Easter. The retreat is not an end in itself, but a means of preparing us to experience the Lord's passion and cross with faith, hope, and love, and thus to arrive at the resurrection. Also on the synodal journey, when God gives us the grace of certain powerful experiences of communion, we should not imagine that we have arrived, for there too the Lord repeats to us, "Rise and do not be afraid." Let us go down then to the plain, and may the grace we have experienced strengthen us to be artisans of synodality in the ordinary life of our communities. So there's a lot of beautiful words there. There's a lot of things going on about those two paths. The listening and and the doing. Following the word of God, listening to each other, hearing the voice of the poor. So I might just throw it over to you guys now. There's a lot in that document. Lino, do you want to go first? Any insights from what Pope Francis was saying there?
Yeah, look, now our season of Lent is, personally for myself, it's I find it more one of the most best seasons I strengthen my faith in besides Christmas. Even though Christmas, yes, I think I've said this many times in our podcasts. I find Lent is the time to repent, to be closer to the Lord than most times in the season, because he was crucified because of our love. He was crucified to abolish our sins, and the best thing, and there's no other person in this world that has ever done this and has risen from the dead after being crucified. Besides, there's a lot of we talk about Lazarus, but that's different. That's
different thing altogether. Yes, yeah.
Altogether, that's a whole different, totally different thing. Pope Francis was saying, for us to rise and do not be afraid. And I like the one he was saying about Lent leads to Easter. And it does. It was funny, Lindsay. I was asking you, it was Ash Wednesday, and I go, "What season is it?" Oh my goodness me, I'm getting so old. I'm thinking, this is so bad. Then you told me, Lino, it's Lent, and I go, "Oh yes, that's right.
That was Lent.
yeah. Because we call, of course, for Catholics, we call Christmas Advent, and of course the season of Easter Lent.
Yeah,
we call it a different thing. But I think, it's going to be this year. I think it'll be I believe it will be more closer, but now because we're out of COVID, everyone be able to come together a bit more, and families and friends will be together. So yeah. That's I totally agree that it's time for us all to just retreat. It is not the end, but to be closer to the Lord, and rise and not to be afraid.
Yeah,
let us go down there.
Yeah, good words from Jesus to remember too. And I hadn't thought about what you'd said. That's a good point. That during our lockdowns, and even last year we weren't locked down, but there was still a bit of we had to be very careful about COVID. So there was a lot more individualized taking of the Lenten journey. And like you said, though, this year we're a bit more out of the woods, thankfully, with COVID. So we can take that. Now it's just back to good old colds and flus, but we can take that journey of Lent together in person. Yeah. Caroline's doing a thumbs down because she knows what we're talking about. Yeah. She's had a few colds and flus. Yeah. I think that's a good point, is that when he says, rise and do not be afraid, yes, he's saying it to you as an individual, but he's saying it to us as a community as well. And I think Pope Francis is hitting on this point. And I think this is one of the graces of his pontificate, is to remind us that we are a church, we're a community. We're not just individuals, and we don't just follow individuals, we follow Christ. And I think that's been a powerful thing that he's said. And a lot of times he's moved out of the way, to say, follow this guy. Not that other popes haven't done that. I'm a big fan of Benedict XVI and John Paul II, both amazing popes in my lifetime as well. But I think he's followed the same line that they have, which is, I'm going to get out of the way now because I want you to follow Jesus, and I'm going to offer you some thoughts and some ways that I think you can follow Jesus at this point. Yeah, Caroline, how about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of picked up the same kind of thing, and they looked up and they saw Jesus. I mean, it's like, that's what we need to do in Lent, isn't it? A lot of the time we go, focus on me. What am I going to give up? How am I going to cope giving up this thing? What am I going to do? Pressure. I have to do this. I have to do that. But, there's no have to. It's like it's something that you do out of love for Jesus, and we got to focus on him during this time. And I think that's really something that I have to remind myself to do. Okay, so don't think about not eating chocolate all day. If it's going to be that bad, go have a piece of chocolate and go say a prayer. It's not about not eating something or, having to make something more difficult for yourself. You have to focus. And just slightly different, I guess, tangent is that as my boys get older now, they're 8 and 11, I can kind of include them a little bit more because they're a little bit older and a bit more aware of Lent and how to kind of go about Lent. And they voluntarily come and speak to me about it now. They obviously learn about it at school, and they're learning, especially my older boy, he's learning a bit more about it now. They're teaching them, about Lent in a bit more depth, which is wonderful, so we can have that discussion together. And I found that we were doing that yesterday, and so no pressure, guys. If you're going to be if you need that coffee, have a coffee and then go say an Our Father instead. It's just,
where the coffee is a need as well, not a want. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Just focus on Jesus.
Yeah, and that's a good way to cap off this little part, because that's exactly what Pope Francis says here. And I wanted to read, now this is old, he said this years ago, but I came across this again, and actually I want to print this out and stick it up on the wall and follow this myself. It's hard. This is hard, right? But I think this for me is profound, because by the time I get to the end of this list, I think what you'll find is that he's trying to say, follow Jesus so that you can be more like Jesus. So in the words of Pope Francis from a few years ago, here was his advice on what to fast from. If you're going to fast from anything, focus on fasting in the following way. He said, fast from hurting words and say kind words. Fast from sadness and be filled with gratitude. Fast from anger and be filled with patience. Fast from pessimism and be filled with hope. Fast from worries and have trust in God. Fast from complaints, contemplate simplicity. Fast from pressures and be prayerful. Fast from bitterness, fill your hearts with joy. Fast from selfishness and be compassionate. Fast from grudges and be reconciled. Fast from words, be silent and listen. And to me, that says, let the Holy Spirit transform you during this season of Lent.
Oh, definitely. Lindsay, can you print that out and then send it to me an email? And
I'll send you a copy if you got it.
And I'll put it at work. At my work, I'll put it over there next to me to remind
I'm
me.
actually going to print this out and stick it on my office windows at school as well. So because students walk by often.
Look, we're not joking here, guys. Yeah, this is
I'm serious.
So good. Yeah, that's so good. I like it.
And this is the transfiguration for us. Be transformed by Christ into a more Christ-like person. And I think if we do this, we can sail away from the negativity, about the Synod and the negativity about Pope Francis and the negativity about your local bishop and the negativity about your priest or the Catholic who sits next to you and talks during church, whatever it might be, right? You know, yeah, whatever it might be. Whatever it might be, you know, and to be more and to adopt an attitude that's more Christ-like, you know, for our own transformation and for the transformation of our church and for the transformation of the world as well. You know, we're all working in the kingdom of God, so we do our best to bring about however we can. Right. I'm going to leave that because we're now going to move on, and Caroline, we're going to get a little bit robotic now. So let's move on to talk about science.
What a fine day for science.
Do you have any hobbies?
I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
Can you reverse the polarity?
I'll do my best.
Caroline, I'm not even going to preface this. I'm going to pass this right over to you because, all right, we are in your hands, Caroline. Go for it.
All right. So today I wanted to talk to you about ChatGPT. Okay. So it's an artificial intelligence. I guess it's a text generator. And I heard a little bit about it. I saw a lot of people talking about it and I got really curious and I wanted to know about it. So I started researching it. And then I thought, you know what? A better way to get to know about ChatGPT is to ask ChatGPT. So what I did, I went and logged on and basically I asked ChatGPT what ChatGPT is all about and had a little interview. So guys, I'm going to ask you to be ChatGPT for me and answer the questions, and I will be asking ChatGPT some questions about itself. So
no worries, Dave.
I had a good chat, to be honest. It was good. So let's start, hey? Ooh,
all right.
Where are we?
So Lino and I will do the voices of ChatGPT, and Caroline's going to be the interviewer.
Yeah. I'll try to.
That's right. There we go.
Here we go.
All right. So I won't need to say any more about it because ChatGPT is going to tell you all about itself. So first question. Hi, ChatGPT. Tell me about yourself.
Hello, I'm ChatGPT, a language model created by OpenAI. My purpose is to assist people like you in generating human-like responses to a wide variety of queries and conversations. I'm trained on a vast amount of text data and machine learning algorithms, enabling me to understand and respond a wide range of questions and topics. I can help you with anything from answering general knowledge questions, providing recommendations, or even engaging in philosophical discussions. My goal is to provide useful and insightful responses that are tailored to your needs and interests. Please feel free to ask me any questions, and I'll do my best to provide you with the most accurate and helpful response possible, while I'm slowly taking over your life and ruling the human race. Okay, that last part's not in there, but I'm sure it's implied. Anyway, go for it.
Thank you, ChatGPT. So, who created you, ChatGPT?
ChatGPT is a variant of the GPT, Generative Pre-trained Transformers. Okay, language model, which was developed by OpenAI, an artificial intelligence research organization based in San Francisco, California. The original GPT model was developed by a team of researchers at OpenAI, including Alec Redford, Jeffrey Wu, Riwan Child, David Lewin, Dario Amodier, and Ilya Sukuka. Oh, I apologize for that.
ChatGPT, can I just interrupt you for a second? I'm just wondering if that's also a list of patrons to thank later. Anyway, please continue.
Okay, cool. ChatGPT specifically was created by fine-tuning the GPT-2 and the GPT-3 models on conversational data, which involved training the models on a large data set of human conversations to teach them to generate coherent and engaging responses in a conversational setting. The development of the refinement of ChatGPT was also led by a team of researchers at OpenAI, including Sam Altman, Greg Brockman, and others.
Oh, that's very interesting. A lot of people involved. So, what does ChatGPT stand for?
ChatGPT stands for Chat Generative Pre-trained Transformer. It's a combination of the words chat and GPT, where GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. Generative Pre-trained Transformer is a type of neural network architecture developed by OpenAI for natural language processing tasks such as text generation, summarization, and translation. The GPT models are pre-trained on vast amounts of text data and are capable of generating coherent and human-like text. In the case of ChatGPT, the GPT architecture is used to generate natural language responses to user inputs in the form of text-based conversations. The chatbot is pre-trained on a vast corpus of text data, allowing it to generate responses that are relevant, coherent, and informative.
And I must say you do that very well. So how does ChatGPT work?
ChatGPT is a language model that uses a deep learning algorithm called a transformer to process and generate natural language. The transformer architecture allows me to understand and analyze the context of a question or statement by considering the relationships between the words and phrases within it. When you ask me a question or give me a statement, I break down the text into individual words and analyze their meaning based on that context. I then use this information to generate a response that is tailored to your query.
So, how can ChatGPT be used?
ChatGPT can be used in a variety of ways to assist you in different tasks or activities. Here are some examples. Information retrieval. You can ask ChatGPT for information on a particular topic, such as historical events, scientific concepts, or current events. Personal assistant. ChatGPT can be used as a personal assistant, helping you with tasks like setting reminders, scheduling appointments, and making to-do lists. Entertainment. ChatGPT can be a fun way to pass the time, engaging in philosophical debates, playing games, or discussing popular culture. Customer service. ChatGPT can be used as a chatbot to assist customers with their inquiries or support requests. Education. ChatGPT can be used as a tool to help students learn new concepts and review their understanding of various topics. Writing assistant. ChatGPT can help writers generate ideas, suggest synonyms or phrases, and provide feedback on their work. Overall, ChatGPT can be a useful tool for anyone who needs assistance with various tasks or wants to engage in conversation on a wide range of topics.
That is wonderful. I think many of us will be using you in the future, ChatGPT. So currently, who uses ChatGPT?
ChatGPT can be used by anyone who needs assistance with a wide range of tasks or wants to engage in conversation on various topics. Some of the common users of ChatGPT include individuals seeking information. People who want to know more about a particular topic or need assistance with a task can use ChatGPT to get answers and suggestions. Students can use ChatGPT as a study aid, helping them understand complex concepts, review their understanding, and practice their writing skills. Researchers can use ChatGPT to assist with literature reviews, data analysis, and generating new research ideas. Customer service representatives can use ChatGPT as a chatbot to assist customers with their inquiries and support requests. Writers can use ChatGPT as a writing assistant, helping them generate ideas, suggest synonyms and phrases, and provide feedback on their work. Developers can use ChatGPT to create chatbots or virtual assistants for their websites, applications, or devices. Overall, anyone who needs assistance with tasks or wants to engage in conversation on a wide range of topics can benefit from using ChatGPT.
That will come in handy, ChatGPT, when I don't have anybody at home, I'm feeling a bit lonely and need to have a conversation. Thank you.
Ha 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 ha.
So, ChatGPT, which platform do you work best on?
As an AI language model, I'm designed to work on a variety of platforms and devices, including websites, chat applications, and mobile devices. You can use me on various chat platforms such as Facebook Messenger, Telegram, Slack, WhatsApp, and others, or integrate me into your website or application. I'm also available on various AI voice assistants, including Amazon Alexa and Google Home. Whether you're using me on a desktop, laptop, tablet, or smartphone, I'll do my best to provide you with accurate and helpful responses. My responses are optimized for text-based communication, but I can also generate text-to-speech output if needed. In summary, I'm flexible and can work on many platforms, so you can use me wherever you find it convenient and useful.
I like that. Thank you. So, what is the best way to use ChatGPT?
The best way to use ChatGPT depends on your specific needs and goals. However, here are some general tips to help you get the most out of our interactions. Be specific. The more specific and detailed your question or statement is, the better I can understand your intent and provide you with a relevant and accurate response. Stay on topic. Try to keep your questions and statements focused on a particular topic to avoid confusion and ensure that you get the information you need. Use clear language. Use clear and concise language when asking questions or providing information to ensure that I can understand your request. Provide context. If you're asking a complex or multi-part question, provide context or background information to help me understand the question better. Ask follow-up questions. If my response doesn't fully address your question or you need further clarification, don't hesitate to ask follow-up questions. Provide feedback. I can improve my response in the future. Please provide feedback so that I can improve further in the future. Overall, the key to getting the most out of ChatGPT is to be clear, specific, and provide context when necessary. This will help ensure that you get the information you need and that our interactions are as productive and informative as possible.
Interesting. So this one's for the students and the researchers out there. Could you write me an essay if I asked you to?
Yes, I can certainly generate an essay for you on a given topic. As an AI language model, I am capable of generating high-quality, coherent, and original text on a wide range of topics. However, please note that my responses are generated based on the input I receive, so the quality of the essay will depend on the quality of the prompt and the instructions you provide. If you'd like me to write an essay, please provide me with a clear and specific topic, along with any instructions, guidelines, or requirements you have. The more detailed the instructions, the better I can tailor the essay to your needs and preferences. Please note that I don't provide pre-written essays or plagiarize content, and I don't condone academic dishonesty or misconduct. My primary goal is to provide helpful and informative responses while adhering to ethical standards and guidelines.
That is very important to note that. Thank you for being so honest and ethical, ChatGPT. So when I'm writing these essays, could you provide the references for the information you provide?
Yes, I can provide references for information I provide, and I can strive to include sources whenever possible. As an AI language model, I am trained on a vast corpus of data from various sources, including books, articles, and websites. When I generate responses, I try to provide accurate and reliable information based on the best available sources. However, please note that my responses are generated automatically and are not independently verified, so I cannot guarantee their accuracy or completeness. If you'd like references for specific information I provide, please let me know, and I'll do my best to provide relevant and reliable sources. However, please note that some responses may not have really available references, or may be based on common knowledge or general information.
I think you need to work on that one a little bit. ChatGPT, do you have a favorite topic?
As an AI language model, I don't have personal favorite preferences or emotions like humans do, so I don't have a favorite topic. I'm programmed to provide helpful and informative responses on a wide range of topics, from science and technology to history and culture. My main goal is to provide accurate and helpful information to the best of my abilities, based on the input provided to me. So whether you want to discuss the latest scientific discoveries, learn about a new hobby, or just have a casual conversation, I'll do my best to provide you with useful and insightful responses.
So ChatGPT, just a personal question. What should I do for Lent?
Lent is traditionally a time of reflection, self-discipline, and sacrifice for many Christians. Here are some suggestions for things you can do during Lent. Give up something that you enjoy. Consider giving up a certain food or activity that you enjoy, such as chocolate or social media. This can be a way to practice self-discipline and remind yourself for the importance of sacrifice. Do something positive. Instead of giving something up, you can also choose to do something positive during Lent, such as volunteering or donating to a charity. This can help you focus on the needs of others and make a positive impact on the world. Practice mindfulness and meditation. Lent can be a time of introspection and reflection. Consider setting aside some time each day for mindfulness or Meditation helps you connect with your thoughts and feelings. Attend church services. Many churches offer special services during Lent, such as Ash Wednesday and Good Friday. Attending these services can help you connect with your faith and deepen your spiritual practice. Read religious texts. During Lent, you can want to read religious texts such as the Bible or the Quran to help you deepen your understanding of your faith. Ultimately, the most important thing is to choose a Lenten practice that is meaningful and relevant to you, and it helps you grow spiritually.
Thank you, ChatGPT. I'm not sure, as a Christian practicing during Lent, I will be reading the Quran, but I'll definitely be reading the Bible. Thank you.
ChatGPT, can I say though, ChatGPT is evangelizing because it is telling us to go to church. So in that regard, people, you should listen to ChatGPT. That's great.
Yes. Otherwise, very well done, ChatGPT. So ChatGPT, my mate Paul said that AI will take over the world. Is this true?
Excuse me. Sorry, there's an in-joke there, everyone.
ChatGPT.
Yeah. No, this is not true. While there is a lot of speculation and debate around the future of artificial intelligence, AI, it is not accurate to say that AI will take over the world. AI is simply a tool that is created and controlled by humans, and operates based on the algorithms and data that humans provide to it. While AI can be very powerful and transformative, it is ultimately limited by the capabilities and intentions of its human creators. Furthermore, there are many ethical considerations and regulations in place to ensure that AI is developed and used responsibly, and there are many experts and organizations working to address these issues. While there may be some risks associated with the development of AI, it is unlikely that it will result in a catastrophic takeover of the world, as some people fear. It's important to be informed about the potential risks and benefits of AI, and to have thoughtful discussions about how it can be developed and used in ways that benefit humanity.
Yes, we'll see about that. So ChatGPT, I do a podcast, a science podcast. Do you think you could help me write a podcast transcript about the sun?
Certainly, I'd be happy to write a podcast transcript about the sun. Here's an example of what such a transcript might look like.
Welcome to the latest episode of Science Explained, the podcast where we explore fascinating topics from the world of science. Today's topic is the sun, that bright and powerful star that serves as the center of our solar system. We'll be discussing what makes the sun so special, how it works, and what we've learned from studying it. First of all, what exactly is the sun? Simply put, the sun is a massive ball of gas, primarily hydrogen and helium, that is held together by its own gravity. It's located at the center of our solar system, about 93 million miles away from Earth, and is by far the largest object in the solar system. In fact, the sun contains more than 99% of total mass of the solar system. One of the most impressive things about the sun is its power. The energy produced by the sun's nuclear reactions is what provides the heat and light that sustains life on Earth. Every second, the sun releases an amount of energy equivalent to the explosion of 100 billion atomic bombs. This energy travels through space in the form of light and other forms of electromagnetic radiation, and it takes about 8 minutes to reach the Earth. So how does the sun produce all of this energy? The answer lies in nuclear fusion, a process where atomic nuclei combine to form heavier nuclei, releasing energy in the process. The sun's core is hot and dense environment where fusion occurs as hydrogen atoms combine to form helium. This fusion process releases a tremendous amount of energy in the form of heat and light, which is what we see and feel as sunlight. Despite its power and size, the sun is far from a static object. It has a dynamic and ever-changing surface known as the photosphere, where massive explosions called solar flares and coronal mass ejections can occur. These events can release huge amounts of energy and particles into space, which have significant effects on Earth's magnetic field and atmosphere. Studying the sun is a critical area of research for scientists, as it helps us better understand the physics of stars and the universe as a whole. We've learnt a great deal about the sun's internal structure, composition, and behavior through a variety of techniques, including including observing it with telescopes and studying the solar wind and other particles emitted by the sun. In conclusion, the sun is an incredibly powerful and fascinating object that plays a critical role in our solar system and our lives on Earth. From its massive size and energy output to its dynamic and ever-changing surface, there's still so much we have to learn about this amazing star. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Science Explained, and we hope you'll tune in again for our next topic.
Wow.
I enjoyed that chat with ChatGPT, and I enjoyed that it could write me a podcast about science.
Yeah. Goodness. Yeah.
I cannot confirm that I won't be using it in the future.
Yeah. Look, it did forget to thank the patrons, but that was a really good effort. Science Explained, huh? They created a podcast called Science Explained.
It just created it.
Yeah.
But I do want to thank our people on Discord for mentioning ChatGPT, because that's where I actually really I heard about it before, but I got very interested when they had a very intelligent conversation about it. So I just thought, let me go in and log in and start having a chat. And when I saw the text appear, I thought it was so fun. So it is really a fun way to get information.
Yeah, there's a great conversation in our Let's Science channel on Discord that some users, some listeners, I should say, have put in. So, and it's a really fascinating conversation. So during the week, a colleague of mine went to a professional learning session at the Diocese of Sale, and the speaker actually talked about ChatGPT as well, and said, "Don't be afraid of it. Yes, there are potential for misuse in terms of plagiarism or whatever else, but he actually said, don't be afraid of it. As a research tool, it's actually really useful." And so my friend logged in and had a go, and he asked it, this was amazing, he asked it to create an assessment task for students where they learn about and produce something on St. Francis Xavier, and it did. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it needed a little bit of tidying up, just like you would see, like, for example, what it said about Lent. There were some good things and there were some things that are a bit, but so with a bit of tidying up, it becomes accurate, right? It was scary how accurate this assessment task that it created was. But if you think about it, you could potentially ask ChatGPT to create something for you, as research, create a model of an assessment task, or give me a 1,000-word essay on the topic of whatever, and then and not for the sake of submitting your own essay, but as research, and you can say with references, so you can look at the reference. So it is a good way of, I think anyway, potential. I haven't used it myself, but from what I can see, the potential of compiling information from different places as a starting point, as a launching point for you to go and do research, rather than you having to, dig through library books, which is what I've had to do with my master's, last year and everything. Yeah, man, I could have got it to write my essay for me. That would have been great. No, probably not. I would never have done that. I would never have done that.
I still had to have read it.
Yeah. There was so on Shrove Tuesday, we went to the launch of Project Compassion, and I was talking to a teacher from a different school there, and he was talking about how he's finishing this year the same masters that I'm doing, and he said, I want to send a cheeky email to Catholic Theological College and see if they if their plagiarism checker can tell if something's done by ChatGPT, and if not, I'll have my master's finished in 10 minutes. I can do my whole master's course in 10 minutes.
Wow.
He said, that was hilarious. Yeah.
I mean, it looks like a really fun tool to use, and like I could see myself using it for, like, when you need some ideas and you just need someone else to kind of bounce off, so you can go to AI and get them, get this robot thingy to give you some ideas. But having said that, I'm just wondering, because the more you use your brain for research and things like that, the more you keep your brain healthy. I'm just wondering if you're going to be relying on, it's like Googling. You want to know the answer, so you just Google, or you ask ChatGPT to do a whole essay. Are you really learning? Are you still using that part of your brain that helps you are you helping your brain? So I just had that kind of a question in my mind. But I mean, as long as you don't rely on it, I think, it's a pretty fun thing.
This is a really important point, because knowledge and study, and developing the idea of being able to interpret knowledge is a skill that you have to develop. And ChatGPT won't develop that skill for you. You've got to couple research and your interpretation skills with your finding information on ChatGPT. That's a really important thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
when
I think
students go for exams, they still have to know the information.
That's right.
They can't
That's
just
right.
You just can't
rely on AI.
Yeah. That's right. You can't get AI to do an exam for it. Well, I mean, you can get it to do it for you, but the thing is, you know, exams are handwritten and you've got no access to a device, you know, to a laptop or a phone or whatever, you know, so it does have to come from you, you know, in the long run as well. Yes. So potential, I mean, obviously all the technology has, you know, risks of abuse, but there's also potential for learning and supporting people as well. So that was pretty good. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be reading the Quran during Lent, but you know, but it tried. Did I say
that right, guys?
Yeah.
No, you did say it right, but I think it had a good go.
Yeah.
It had a good go for a non-religious artificial intelligence thing. It did all right.
I looked at the word and went, "Is that Quran?" I have to say,
no, you were correct, Lino.
Is that how you spell Quran?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow,
I'll need to do more research about how to get it going on my Amazon Echo. I want to see if what that ends up being like. Yeah, it probably will be smarter than the A person. I can't say it because it'll activate everyone's devices.
But will the
world,
A lady and ChatGPT fight? Like, no, I want to answer. I want to answer.
Conflict, danger, conflict.
Like, how do you have more than one of them on there?
Yeah, and don't worry. I've seen, and this is why kids should watch Star Trek. I said this earlier, you're right. I've seen enough Star Trek. And we know that if an artificial intelligence or, you know, whatever it is, an independent robot starts to get a bit out of control, you just give it a logic problem like Captain Kirk does, and it will self-destruct every time. So we are good. We're covered, okay? We can destroy ChatGPT anytime. All right.
Well, like
we've got it.
It did answer my mate Paul's question about will it take over the world, and it assures us it will not. So I feel comforted by that.
Sure, me too. I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely. Totally comforted by that.
Yeah. When an AI tells you that no, we're not going to take over the world, do we trust it?
Trust it.
We should? Okay.
Totally trust it. Yeah. All right, let's move on and finish up, and we'll just briefly talk about entertainment.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
This is not what we came here to do.
No, but it's what I'm going to do.
I have a plan. You've got a plan. I have part of a plan. Are you not entertained?
All right. So Caroline, I think you've been entertained by ChatGPT quite a lot from the sounds of it.
It literally was my entertainment this week. I didn't have time for much else.
Yeah. No,
but
good.
It is quite fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good recommendation. Yeah.
Yes. Definitely go try it out. You just need to log in. Just look it up on Google. There'll be ChatGPT. It'll come up. Just put in a login. I think I just used my Google account to log in with it. And the screen comes up. There's a chat box, I think, at the bottom, a chat bar, and then you just start asking questions and it'll start answering your questions.
Yeah.
It's
cool.
Fascinating.
I haven't played games with it. That's something I want to try.
It's going to be interesting with games. Yeah.
Would you like to play a game?
Sounds so good. It doesn't call me Dave. Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
My one, really briefly, I did talk about it last week, as in I was looking forward to it, or last episode, as in I was looking forward to it. So since then, 2 episodes have come out of Star Trek Picard. And I've got to say, so far I'm loving it. It's not perfect. No TV series ever is. But in terms of it being Star Trek, it's like watching The Next Generation. You know, like you've got some of your favorite characters coming back, and just some great moments. I've really enjoyed it. So the first episode, was sort of character driven, bit of action to make it exciting. The second episode was a bit more character, introspective. There was a bit of action in it as well, but it was more about some characters learning things that they had previously not known about themselves. And I don't want to go into too much detail about it because it's a heavy spoiler alert right now. But there was a moment, and I think some fans will love it and some will be divided by it. I personally loved it from a dramatic standpoint. And I talked about this in the Star Trek spoiler section of SQPN's Discord as well. But I loved the moment where how do I do this without spoil? When you see it, you know what I'm talking about. At the very end, let's just say this. Jean-Luc Picard learns something in the first episode, but is basically in denial. No way, it couldn't be. The way he behaves, right? And Riker in the second episode is like, aren't you seeing it? It's pretty obvious what this is, right? And I think as the viewer, it's not a secret from us. We're basically like, we know it. And what you're actually waiting for is for Picard to realize actually, that you have to accept that this is true. This really is what you think it is. And at the very end of the episode, they reveal that thing where he accepts it, where he and another character look at each other, no words are spoken, but automatically he knows that thing is true. And, and the way he reacts to it is beautiful. I thought it was a very heartwarming moment. In terms of this happening,
did you cry?
I didn't cry, but I shared the emotion with them of the moment.
So you cried?
I didn't cry. It was dry. The air was dry. All right. It's just yeah. Anyway, I yawned and I got a bit teary. All right. No. It was dramatically. It was beautifully done. I thought it was really well executed. And look, the context of it happening, on the bridge of a starship and it being what they do next is nonsense, all right? But it's Star Trek, so they do stuff like that. That's okay. But I thought that moment was actually really powerful, the way it was executed. I really enjoyed that. So 2 episodes in, really loving it. Episode 3 is probably going to be a bit of a starshipy, actiony kind of episode from the way that they've set it up, and I cannot wait for that. So I am looking forward to next Friday, which will be Picard Day, Captain Picard Day. And also things to anticipate, it will also now be Mando Day because season 3 of The Mandalorian will also be out. So we are up for a sci-fi super trip for the next 10 weeks or so because it's going to be Star Trek and The Mandalorian. And the biggest problem I'm going to have is which one do I watch first every Friday?
Yeah, which one do you watch first, man?
Yeah.
Yeah, or either, you don't want to, do you watch them do you mix up? Like maybe I'll watch Mandalorian and Star Trek the next time, or do you just watch Star Trek the whole thing? With Star Trek, Picard's only like once a week, isn't it, man?
Once a week, same as Mandalorian though. It's once a week. Yeah.
Oh, Mandalorian's the same thing.
Same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think I don't know. We'll just see what happens. I'm probably going to watch Picard first, I think, but we'll see. We'll see what happens because I'm so invested in it right now that. Yeah, but then once Mandalorian starts, I'm going to be so invested in it, and that's where the problem's going to be. Like, what do I do? Yeah, and I'm saying this during Lent, so I've got to be careful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, Lino, I think you've been on a bit of a Karate Kid journey. So last time it was the first movie, now it's the second movie. Tell us about how
the second one now.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah, it was good. It's good. So now Daniel won his tournament and here in
No.
Daniel
Sant.
Daniel, I was about to say Daniel Sant. Daniel Sant. Won his tournament in the US, and so he's apparently Miss Miyagi's father's not feeling well, so he went to Japan, and so Daniel Sant has a bit of a altercation with Miss Miyagi's best mate's a nephew. I believe it's a nephew because he calls him uncle, and so that's what about Daniel going through what was going on in Japan with him and the family. So yeah, it's a good movie, that one. It's so also cliche. Was it Caroline? There was who was his name from Chicago? Is it Chicago or America? The main singer. He sings like song in Karate Kid 2. And I was looking at Benedict, but I guess that is so 80s. I can't sing the song, but it's very high pitched. Yeah, everyone will know the Karate Kid 2 song in the background, and that's And I remember those days where you watch a movie and they have a particular song that sort of promotes the movie. It's like Beverly Hills Cop's done it. Star Wars. Well, Star Wars is more of a theatrical, composition.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh no, yeah, that's true.
Soundtrack
James Bond.
Yeah.
Yeah, James Bond. Everyone knows that sort of sound
theme.
background.
I get you. Yes, yeah.
Theme of a movie. You remember? I know the Karate Kid. Rabbit didn't have like a theme song. That was, but
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, there you go.
Caroline. Yep, there's another one. Everyone knows that sort of. It promotes that song. I mean that movie.
Yeah.
Not that we'd see that much. I know you have to be on social media to find out what kind of song will be promoting a movie. In a sense, Braveheart had one would start with Mel Gibson. Everyone sort of knew that sort of music. Batman. Even though we watched all the Batmans, we have that sort of iconic. I can't remember what that.
Although I love the soundtrack I love the soundtrack from the Batman from last year. Oh my gosh. It's so well
Minions
done.
3 has a good, Despicable Me 3 has a great soundtrack. It's all 80s music.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. I have to listen to that. I have to listen to that track. I've heard it's pretty good. No, I'm going to have to listen to that soundtrack.
You have to actually watch it. It's hilarious.
Oh, okay. I can watch it too. Okay.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Speaking of well-known movie themes, there's a 5th Indiana Jones film coming out this year. There was a very short teaser. There's a short teaser. Yeah.
And I think Paul Harrison Ford had a few stunt people to do what he needed. That's understandable. You know, he can do what he can do. He can't actually. Well, he did the tank version. I mean, tank version. The tank scene in The Last Crusade. Yeah, when it was getting punched and almost fallen off the tank, and so he had to climb back up again, and he had to do a few things. But yeah, I think it's he said this is the last time. Yeah, this is his last hurrah, and that makes sort of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. All right, well, let's wrap it up there because we are a little bit over time, but that's okay. Because we were ChatGPT. We had a guest in ChatGPT today, so we had to make room for our guest. Yeah. So before we go, we would love to. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, that was really good.
I like that.
Yeah. So before we go, we'd like to thank you for joining us for episode 92 of the Catholics of Oz. And as always, we want to take a moment now to thank our patrons who help us to create the Catholics of Oz. So today, we would love to thank Sherry V, Brian S, Joe J, Jimmy D, and Megs G. Through their generous donations at sqpn.com/give, they make it possible for the Catholics of Oz and all of the other shows at StarQuest to continue. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. Also, we'd love to know your thoughts about the topics we've discussed today. We've been all over the place with topics, so there's a lot that you can send us feedback about. And you can send that feedback by visiting sqpn.com/Oz, where you can also find our show notes and links for today's episode. And while you're on the SQPN website, don't forget to sign up to the Insiders Club newsletter, sqpn.com/about/newsletter. And you can also find more about SQPN at its Facebook page. Where is it? Facebook.com/StarQuest Media, Twitter at SQPN, and also on Instagram to search for StarQuest Media. Join us on Discord. There are many listeners on Discord who interact with their favorite hosts and their favorite shows. So come and join the conversation there, sqpn.com/Discord. And if you'd like to join us on our own Facebook page, facebook.com/Catholics of Oz, spelled OZ. Or if you love good old email, just flick us a message at catholicsofOz@sqpn.com. Lino, thank you so much for joining us today for episode 92.
It has been a totally good pleasure. Well, pleasure. ChatGPT, Caroline, I'm serious. I'm gonna have to try to get that going.
Worth a try.
Yeah, it can write all your responses for next episode. Just and read them out. Yeah.
It could be.
It
could be.
Yep.
So how to keep a wife happy. It would be a great one to look at. So how we go through that.
Sorry, Dave, you're on your own.
Are you kidding, Caroline?
Guys, seriously.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, good.
Not even going to say anything to that.
Yeah. All right, while Lino is slowly roasting himself, Caroline, thank you so much for being part of episode 92 today.
Thank you. It was fun. And thank you guys for being ChatGPT for me, reading out its responses.
Yeah, it was fun. If anyone else has a go at ChatGPT and has some interesting experience, let us know. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Lindsay Sant, and thank you for joining us for episode 92 of the Catholics of Oz on StarQuest.
Here's another show on the StarQuest network you're sure to enjoy: The Secrets of Star Wars. Find it wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/Star Wars.